Good morning, YouTubers, boys and girls from all over the world. Today we're working on little hand cannons mount on the stanchions. First problem I ran into was a pin for them to hinge on was too big, so I had to drill that out. And the second problem is the book shows this little arm sticking out here bent over. Well, when you try to bend that over, it just breaks right off. Imagine I could use a torch, heat that thing up cherry red, and maybe get it to bend over. But for what it's supposed to look like when you're done, it's just a handle sticking out there with a 90-degree bend on it. So what I did on some of these other ones I've already got installed was just put it in the drill press and drill out the butt there where that broke off, and then super glue a piece of that brass rod in there. So before we can get that to fit in our little bracket and cut and shape the pin that it hinges on, we're gonna have to drill this out. So what I'm doing is just setting it in a little pre-drilled pocket in the plate there, and then sinking down, well, 5 or 10 millimeters, and that gives me a pocket to put that rod in. So I'll do that. Okay, so I went ahead and busted all the non-compliant pieces off. Another problem I have is these little brackets got a hole in them that's pre-cut, and we just bent it after we take it out of the laser cut piece. But all the nails that come in the ship kit are, the heads are too small for that hole, so I had to get some nails out of my carpentry stuff, get those shaped up and cut and ready. And then the other issue was that the size of the hole in the cannon was too small for this rod, but this rod was the right size for the pre-cut holes in this bracket. So that's the other reason I had to drill out the hole in the cannon a little bigger to fit that rod. That way the rod would fit the bracket properly. So we're doing the last one here. I'm just sticking it in there Spinning it till it looks like it's around 90 degrees. Cut it off like a handle. And I'm grabbing it again with the heavy duty needle nose pliers. And I'm going to file that cut off so it's smooth. I want that cut to be smooth on the end. And we'll be doing that same tactic with the pin that we put in the hole there on the side of the cannon. So we just put a little bit of super glue on this. Stick it in there where it's 90 degrees to the hole on the cannon. Some of the holes on the cannon favor the top or the bottom a little more, so I'm trying to make them to the top, because the next issue we're going to run into is these brackets, and I'll make sure that stayed where I put it. So now we take one of these carpentry tacks, insert that in there, we want that down as low as it can go to allow room for the cannon body. And from past experience on these, I've had to file the top of the head off in order to get that cannon body to fit in there. Now we're going to loosen the vise and push this down where it's tight. Get one of these cannons here, and we're going to pre-file that cut in. So it's nice and flat on the end. Deburr that a little bit. Now we got that to go in there. Some of them don't go in there as easily as others. And making sure I got a little bit sticking out in the other side to allow room for cut and file on this side. Put a little mark on there. And we cut it on that mark. Try not to lose the piece. And then we want to file this in. Now we're ready to insert it. Voila. And now we just take a little dab of glue and hold one side. And then do the same thing on the other, but I don't want to touch it with my finger. That pin to stay where it's at. And then remove this from the vise. And I've already pre-drilled the top of these stanchions to fit the diameter of these old nails. I think it's 1.5 millimeters, so I went like 1.6 millimeters on the drill bit. So now all I gotta do is jam that in there and then tap it in place, because it's a really tight fit. I don't even need to glue it. And that's how we're assembling these. Let's see if I can adjust my tripod. Make it face the right direction. Voila. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more to go. Okay. So we removed the cannons from the stanchion and installed that brass ring in there. We went ahead and did the rest of the handles. So all of them are matching now. And we went ahead and put the jolly boat on. I haven't tied it off on the other side yet. And the launch. And all the block and tackles in for that. So we're looking at the prints, and we got that stuff done there. And now I'm looking at these things here. We got that done. And I made up 4 of these that are going to go on. And they're little dinky things. And they show the bell over the cog for the anchor rope. So I went ahead and made that up. We got to install it on there. Should be the right distance here for fitting on that big old beam there. So this is going to go on here. Something like that. We'll have to, I think I'm going to drill some holes in this, put some pins in there. That'll look better. But now we got to install these things on the side of the ship there to different places. So a little bit at a time. This is real tedious work, making these up and getting them drilled and everything so we can accept the pin to install them, and nails. And I went ahead and glued this on, and the cupboard box there. So the cannons are done. Jolly boat and the launch is done. Little hair there from the paintbrush, and I stained it. But it came out pretty good. Hopefully we can get this on. Looking at right there, these pins are so small. There. Get a good bite on it without bending it. So that's two. Just did one here. All we got to do is one's on the other side. One right behind the stairway and one in front of that first cannon stanchion. I'm going to grab the next two. One there. One over there. And some pins. I'm going to try this nail set. It's got a little cup on the end of it. You push them right up in there if you don't bend them. Now that's a little crooked, isn't it? Huh. Let me see before I put that pin in. If I can bend this like that. There we go. That's much straighter. back here behind this stanchion. Yeah, these are 0.6 millimeter pins. 0.6 millimeters. Miniature nails. I'm gonna have to grab that with the tweezers. Get the placement there. Get that nail pushed against the wood. There we go. One more pin, and those guys will be done. Push that up a little bit off of the rail. Voila. Time for a new era in the construction of the HMS Bounty. We have cleared off the secondary workbench, and we're looking at doing the masts and all it has to do with them. So first step is to find everything we need at the right dimensions using our parts list, because in the directions we don't have much info. They just tell us to start on shaping and forming the mast using the plans and the parts list. So we have no more pictures to go by other than these plans. The last 2 pages in the picture book are showing rigging and stuff, and there's a few little hints in there to what we do with the decorations of the brass pieces. But for the most part, the next task is to get all 3 of these masts built and all the yard arms to go with them. So this is the mizzen mast here, the rear of the ship, and based on the numbers they give us here, we can cross-reference that to a part number, and that gives us a size and dimensions that we need. And then we just sort of figure out what they want us to do based on those sizes and dimensions and pieces. I still have lots of questions here. There's a stiffener brace there that is made out of basswood, but I don't have, other than a side view and a front view, I don't have a whole lot of information to go by. So these are the first few pieces here. That'll be on the top crow's nest. This will hold the two sections of the top part of the mast together. And this one's for the lower section of the mast to be held together. And then some braces that will go on the side. And then looks like the floor is going to be made out of grating. It's similar to the other gratings we made. And then they've got some netting that's in the parts over there for the walls of that crow's nest. So we're going to very slowly go through all the pieces. For instance, this one has got to be sliced in half. And I imagine the other half will be used somewhere else. And then some little braces underneath it. And then some pulleys mounted on them. A bunch of pulleys everywhere. So we got a lot of homework to do. A lot of measuring and tapering, because these mast poles have got to be tapered. And we got to put a square fitting on one side for the big one, and then this round one will fit right in there. So it's going to be a bunch of little detail work to create the mast. And after we get one mast, then we'll flip the page over, and the main mast and the foremast are on the other side of this same page. And we'll build the other two, but this is going to take weeks, months, years. So we're on to a next big phase in the build. As I go along, I'll refer to this too, because there's that piece that we were just showing you. That'll go down in that hole there. So one piece at a time, one shaping at a time, a little filing here and drilling there, and might even get me some more drill bits and stuff. I got enough 0.5 millimeter drill bits to do everything, but I'm going to need some new razor blades for my cutter knives and all kind of stuff like that, but I'm going to work with what I got for now. We need another milestone today as we show you this next major step in the build, is that we have reached 1,000 subscribers. So that's a great accomplishment. Thank you for all those people out there that are watching and subscribing, and I hope you enjoy and learn something as we all work through this together. But that makes me very proud and happy as a YouTube creator that this content has generated that many subscribers. So thank you very much for watching all these videos. Okay, so for the mizzen mast, I got a grating prepared that'll go in there. Got to glue it up and cut it out. Might have to take it in half to get it to go in there. So this is the first few pieces glued on, and the top. So that will set like that or like this. You can see the dimension there. I don't have these masts glued together as one piece yet because I'm still working on different things on them. So this one's got a cut rabbet for fitting down there below, and that one does too. But that's the basic layout. You got a couple of these to put on, and one gonna go there to help stiffen that, and one down here, and then a bunch of pulleys and some little more pieces of wood like we did here. Got that wood on there, but we got the braces on and the floor ready for the grading. We just got to make up the netting and the railing pieces for the railing and the net. I want to get the grading in the floor first, and then while these are still in pieces, I'll drill some holes in them here and there, and get some more blocks and tackles and pulleys installed on them as needed. So we got 3 or 4 here, 2 there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I also got dead eyes. They're gonna go in these 3 holes on the side. We got to get dead eyes in there. So I want to put all them on while it's laying here on the bench. Put that pulley on and the ropes and the braces for this ring. So as you can see, we got a good start on it today with the pieces that are going to make them block things there, or dead eyes. That'll make up the crow's nest. The 2 different views, a side view and a front or back view for each mast. So between the 2 views and all these numbers and the part list, I'm able to figure out what I need. And looking at the picture on the box is useless because there's 5,000 ropes in the way. You can't really see any of this structure that's down here we're working on now. So we got to go by these plans and the parts list. And a little experience from the crow's nest up there and the different things we did on those masts. Not the same ship, not the same, it is the same model maker, but this is British, HMS Bounty, British built. You know, may have been built by the Dutch for the British, but this I'm pretty sure is Spanish or Italian. A different manufacturer as far as the way they build when they built the real thing. So we're just gonna have to piece our way through it. till we figure it all out. These are just a bunch of pieces that you stick together, and then you glue them up and shape them whatever you want. Here's an older one I made earlier for some gratings on the deck. I think the cutout pieces from this are up here. So we're going to keep on plugging away here, working on these masts.